Welcome, everyone. Ready to dive deep into something pretty fascinating? We're taking a look at A Rhythm of Prayer, a book that really makes you think differently about how we talk to, well, the divine.
Yeah, this isn't just like your typical prayer book, you know.
Yeah.
It's curated by Sarah Bessey,
Sarah Bessey, okay.
and she's a kind of a leading voice in this whole evolving faith movement.
Evolving faith, now that's an interesting term. Makes you think faith isn't something stuck in time, huh?
Right. It's always changing and growing just like us. And Bessey, well, she really embodies that.
And in what way?
Well, she's not afraid to explore the tough stuff, the parts of faith that people don't always talk about. You might know her from some of her other
I'm
books.
not familiar. Which ones are those?
Jesus Feminist is one, and Out of Sorts, which is all about, well, making peace with how your faith changes.
I see. So in A Rhythm of Prayer, is that what she's doing, kind of guiding us through these changes?
In a way, yeah. But what's really cool is she brings together all these different voices.
Like different people's prayers.
Exactly. It's like a whole choir of spiritual leaders today, each with their own unique way of connecting with God, really.
So we're not just talking about like the traditional kind of prayers.
No, not at all. There's poetry, there's like these raw, almost like cries of lament. It's really diverse.
So she's not shying away from the difficult stuff then.
No way. She's embracing it. That's what struck me. The book doesn't pretend faith is all sunshine and roses.
Right, because it's not. Life is messy.
Exactly. And our faith reflects that. It's got doubts, uncertainties, all these real struggles people go through.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So how's the book structured?
Well, it's built around three themes: orientation, disorientation, and reorientation.
And those kind of mirror our own spiritual journeys.
Absolutely. Most of us go through those phases in some way.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning then. Orientation. What's that about?
It feels like an invitation to really rethink what prayer is, you know?
Like step back and look at it with fresh eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Bessy even talks about her own experiences with prayer, growing up in prayer circles.
Prayer circles.
Yeah, groups of women gathering, sharing their hearts with God.
Ah, I see.
She describes it so beautifully, talks about being encircled in homemade prayer.
Encircled in homemade prayer. Wow, that's a powerful image.
It really is. It's about that feeling of intimacy and community, like prayer connecting us not just to God, but to each other, too.
It's a nice thought, yeah. So who else do we hear from in this section?
Well, there's Mika Boyette. She offers this prayer against efficiency.
It's deficiency.
I know, right? In today's world, we're all about doing more, faster, better, but her prayer is all about slowing down.
It's about taking your time, not squeezing prayer into a 5-minute slot in your day.
Exactly. And her imagery is just stunning. She talks about tucking ourselves into the curve of God's slow arm.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's powerful. Makes you think of just letting go, surrendering.
Right. It's like saying, hey, we don't have to control everything. God's got this.
Definitely resonated with me, that one. What else stood out to you?
Oh, Amina Brown's piece.
Who's she?
She's a spoken word poet, really talented. Her piece is called She Said, How Do You Know When You Are Hearing from God?
That's quite the title. What's it about?
It's about, well, those fleeting moments of spiritual connection.
Those times you feel like you're really connecting with something bigger.
Yeah, exactly. And it's about how hard it is to put that into words. Like, language just doesn't seem enough.
Oh, I totally get that. Trying to describe something so huge and profound.
Right. It's like, how do you even begin?
And I guess she's saying you don't always have to, right? You could just feel it.
Exactly. And she reminds us that those moments, they can happen anywhere.
Not just in church or during formal prayer, right?
Nope. Could be walking in nature, listening to music, anything, really.
That's kind of freeing, isn't it? Like God can meet you wherever you are.
I think so. This section has other voices, too. Gail Song Bantam, Nadia Bolz-Weber. They all bring something unique.
It's interesting how Bessey mixes those traditional prayers with these more, I guess, unconventional forms.
It's like she's showing us there's no one right way to pray.
It's about what resonates with you, what helps you connect.
Exactly, what feels genuine and true to your own experience.
I like that. It's very inclusive, welcoming everyone to the table.
Totally. Makes you feel like you belong no matter where you are on your faith journey.
So we've explored this idea of orientation, finding our place, right? But I'm guessing things don't always stay so clear-cut.
You got it. That's where disorientation comes in.
That's the next section.
Yep. And it gets real. Dives into the doubts, the struggles, the messiness.
That's where things get really interesting, I think. Ready to explore that a bit.
Absolutely. Let's dive in. Okay, so disorientation. This section, it really gets to the heart of it, the stuff that's not always easy to talk about.
Yeah, the doubts, the struggles, like when faith gets tough.
Exactly. It doesn't sugarcoat anything. It's honest about the fact that, well, the spiritual journey isn't always smooth sailing.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Life throws curveballs, and sometimes our faith takes a hit.
Right. You can feel lost, confused, even angry at God sometimes.
I think a lot of people can relate to that more than we might admit.
Totally. And this section, it gives voice to those feelings. One essay that really hit me hard was Alia Joy's The Foolishness of a Kingdom.
The foolishness of a kingdom. Okay.
Yeah.
What's that one about?
She writes about living with bipolar disorder.
Wow, that's a heavy topic.
Yeah, and she's so open and honest about it. Talks about how her prayers reflect those extreme highs and lows.
I can only imagine.
There's this one part she describes a manic prayer where she's just overflowing with gratitude for like the simplest things.
Really? Like what kind of things?
Oh, like non-toxic cleaners, peach cobbler, just everyday stuff.
Huh. But I guess when you're in that state of mind, everything feels amazing.
Yeah, there's this incredible energy in her words, but also this awareness, that it could shift at any moment.
It's like a fragile kind of joy, almost.
Yeah, exactly. It's really powerful, and it makes you realize how complex mental illness is, how it affects every part of your life, even your prayers.
It definitely challenges our assumptions about what prayer should look like.
For sure. But what I found so moving is that even in those really dark moments when she's struggling, she finds comfort in this idea
What idea is that?
that God chooses the foolish things of the world to shame the wise.
Ah, I see. So it's like those things we see as weaknesses, they don't disqualify us from experiencing God's love.
Exactly. It's a message of hope for anyone who feels broken or like they don't measure up.
I think that resonates with a lot of people. We all feel inadequate sometimes.
Definitely. Another piece that's just, wow, so powerful is Chiniquy Walker Barnes' Prayer of a Weary Black Woman.
That title alone is striking.
It's a lament, a cry of pain and frustration directed at all the injustice and oppression Black people have faced.
It's not holding back, that's for sure.
No, not at all. She lays it all out there, the anger, the exhaustion, the struggle for racial justice.
It's definitely a challenge to those of us who benefit from privilege to really confront those hard truths.
Absolutely. It makes you examine your own complicity, how your faith maybe hasn't always been on the side of justice.
It's not just about personal piety. It's about how we engage with the world around us.
Right. And even in the midst of all that anger, that despair, there's this unshakable belief in God's presence.
Like, even when you're shouting at God, you still believe God is there.
Yeah, it's like she's wrestling with God, but not giving up on God. It's a reminder that prayer can be a form of resistance,
Not just passively accepting things, but actively pushing for change, for justice.
Yes. And that theme, that weariness from fighting for what's right, holding on to hope even when it's hard, it runs through other prayers in this section, too.
Like which ones?
Well, Lord Jean Truman's A Prayer for the Tired, Angry Ones, that one really spoke to me.
What's it about?
About the emotional toll, of constantly fighting for change in a world that often resists it.
It can be exhausting, for sure.
Right. And even Bessey herself, she offers a prayer for when you don't even know what you want.
So for those times when you're just lost, completely uncertain.
Yeah, when words fail you and you just need to be honest with God about how messed up you feel.
It's about showing up with all your doubts and questions, not pretending to have it all figured out.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this book so powerful. It gives you permission to be real with God, to bring all of yourself, even the broken parts.
The parts we try to hide, even from ourselves sometimes.
Yeah. And that feels way more authentic and accessible than what we often see in like traditional religious settings.
More human, more relatable.
Exactly. And I think that's why so many people, especially those who maybe feel disillusioned with organized religion, they connect with Bessey's work, with this book.
It's honest, it's real, and ultimately, it's hopeful, even when things are tough.
Absolutely. It reminds us that even in the midst of all that disorientation, that questioning, that doubt, there's still a path forward. And that's where reorientation comes in, the last section of the book.
Okay, so after exploring all this darkness, this uncertainty, where do we go from here?
Well, that's what reorientation is all about, finding our footing again, seeing things with fresh eyes. It's going to be good. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Okay, so we've made it through the wilderness, so to speak, that disorientation section. What's this reorientation all about then?
It's like coming out the other side, but not forgetting what you went through.
Yeah, it's not about erasing the hard stuff.
No, it's
Right.
about integrating it, letting those experiences shape you.
Makes sense. You come out stronger, I guess.
Something like that, yeah. It's about finding a new path, a new way of seeing things.
And how does Bessey approach this?
Well, there's this one prayer of hers, a prayer to learn to love the world again. Really simple, but so powerful.
To love the world again. What's that about?
About loving, even though, it might hurt, because there's just so much beauty out there.
Beauty and pain, they go hand in hand, I guess.
Yeah, it's about embracing all of it, the joy and the sorrow, finding God in every bit of it.
And are there other voices that echo that kind of sentiment?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Caitlin Curtis's piece, The Lantern and the Wildflower. She's great.
What does she say about reorientation?
She talks about it as an adventure, the search for God.
An adventure, huh? I like
Me too. It's about actively seeking, exploring, not just waiting for something to happen.
So it's not just about having faith handed to you. It's about going out and finding it for yourself.
Exactly. And she's got this great line. She says, even when we feel lost, prayer is a breath, a feeling, a deep longing in our hearts.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. So prayer doesn't always have to be words, right?
Right. It can be so much more than that. It's about that interconnection, that yearning.
It's about being open to however that connection might show up, I guess.
That's it. Now, there's another piece that really stuck with me.
Which one's that?
Emmy Kegler's prayer for all the so-called lost.
So-called lost. So who's she talking about?
Those who've been pushed aside, rejected by their faith communities.
For being different. For questioning.
Yeah, exactly. She makes you think, who are we to label someone as lost?
Maybe they're not lost at all. Maybe they're finding their own way.
Right. Maybe they're even leading the way, showing us a new path.
It's like they're pioneers, forging ahead into uncharted territory.
Love that. She really challenges us to examine our own biases,
To be more open-minded, more accepting.
Definitely. And this section also has some more practical stuff like how-tos for prayer.
Oh, like what?
Well, Bessey offers this centering practice for prayer, a way to ground yourself, get ready to connect.
Kind of like a meditation technique.
Kind of, yeah. And then there's Rosella Haiti White. She talks about ancestral wisdom, present guidance.
Interesting. What's that about?
It's about connecting with the wisdom of those who came before us.
Our ancestors, you mean?
Yeah, like our bodies carry their stories, their experiences, and that can inform our spiritual journey, too.
It's like we're all connected, past, present, future.
Exactly. And it's not just about thinking, it's about feeling it in your body, that connection.
So it's a more holistic approach to prayer, engaging your whole being.
Absolutely. And we wrap up with Barbara Brown Taylor, Approaching the Mountain in Prayer. She's fantastic.
Oh, I heard of her.
Yeah.
What's her take on reorientation?
Well, she talks about how as we grow in our faith, our understanding of God changes too.
Like what we thought we knew, it evolves as we do.
Yeah, it's like climbing a mountain, she says. The higher you go, the more you see, the wider your perspective becomes.
I love that analogy. So prayer isn't about reaching some fixed destination. It's about the journey itself.
Exactly. And as you go, you realize it's less about words and more about just being present with God.
Just being, huh?
Yeah.
That's kind of freeing, actually.
Right. It's about that deep, silent connection that goes beyond language.
That's a beautiful way to end this exploration. So as we wrap up our deep dive into a rhythm of prayer, what would you say is the key takeaway for our listeners?
Well, it's like we've been saying, this book, it's an invitation to rediscover prayer.
To see it as a journey, not a destination, with all its twists and turns.
Exactly. It's about embracing the messiness, the doubts, the struggles.
And knowing that even when we feel lost, God is still there with us.
Absolutely. It's about finding our own rhythm, our own way of connecting that feels authentic and real.
So it's not about doing it right. It's about doing it in a way that resonates with you, with your own unique experience.
Exactly. What if instead of trying to be perfect, we just let our prayers be as messy and real as our lives are?
What if we let our faith evolve and grow alongside us without judgment or shame?
I think that's what Bessey is trying to say, that there's room for all of it. The doubts, the questions, the joys, the sorrows, it's all part of the journey.
And prayer is a way to navigate that journey, to find meaning and connection, even in the midst of chaos.
Beautifully put. So yeah, go explore, find your own rhythm, and don't be afraid to let it change and evolve as you do.
That's fantastic advice. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into a rhythm of prayer. It's been truly insightful.
My pleasure. It's been a great conversation.
And to our listeners, we hope this inspires you to find your own rhythm of connection with the divine, whatever that may look like for you.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Pages to Dialogues. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and found valuable insights to apply to your life. If you did, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Pages to Dialogues, for more thought-provoking dialogues on Christian books. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback on this episode. Please leave a comment below and let's continue the conversation. If you know someone who would benefit from our discussions, please share this episode with them. Your support means the world to us. Finally, if you appreciated this episode, please give us a thumbs up and a like. It helps us reach more people and continue creating content that inspires and uplifts. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to engaging with you on our next episode of Pages to Dialogues.